Tonight, my guest, medium Nancy Matz, will be talking about near-death experiences and their after effects. See you in 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I hope you all said terrific and all that good stuff. Hang on a second, let me go here. Let me get my buttons. Okay. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. This is our casual Friday, so I'm all decked out for Aloha. And Nancy Matz is going to be with us shortly. We're going to be talking about near-death experiences. Yeah, near-death experiences. I've got some stories of my own. I always have stories, you know that. Anyway, I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state. Hello, Jen. It's good to see you. Good to see you. We are 45 strong up and down the state. That means if you have a paranormal need or you think you might have something paranormal going on in your house or business or whatever, we can get to you. And if we're a little further away from you, that's not a problem. There's always somebody available to go. Anyway, tonight's show. I know people that have had NDEs, and I know one in particular who had an NDE, and after experiencing the NDE, she came back with psychic abilities. It happens. Sometimes it happens. I'm sure Nancy can fill us in on more of that end of it because I've never had an NDE. But, all that stuff. I'm going to get Nancy on. I'm at a loss for words today for once.
Hi there. What's up? I gave it some thought of what we're going to talk about tonight, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time, everybody. I moved this past week, and if I start losing my voice, then Cheryl will have to pick it up, let me rest, and to keep on going. You kids have always heard me say, I got my screen crooked here. Another topic I love. I love this topic because it. Hello, go ahead, Cheryl.
Hello, Kate. You look fine to me. See, I can do this way.
I can't hear you, hon.
You look fine to me. I can just do this.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I've been through the grinder. Well, the thing is we sized down a little bit, and we went from a really bigger house and lots of office to a smaller environment. So it is what it is. But what I want to say is near-death experiences have been written down throughout history. And even Socrates, I believe it was, someone could have corrected me, of course, was in the history books of talking about leaving the body and coming back. And you think about near-death experience versus remote viewing. People think that near-death experience is just the brain shutting down, going through a tunnel is actually the wiring in the brain kind of going back. And then how can you explain people who in the hospital having surgery, they go to near-death experience, but the surgeons and the doctors are testing this by putting articles, shoes, clothing, teddy bears, really high next to the ceiling. And the patient comes back and says, why do you put that red tennis shoe up near the ceiling? And so we are investigating. There's a lot of investigation going on. One of the earlier pioneers, Raymond Moody, investigated this, journeys out of the body and far journeys, talks about remote viewing, get out of the body. And you can actually have what they call a near-death experience by following some of the outlines that these people have written up. And I have to go to a place that I believe the near-death experience is actually when your heart stops. Your brain doesn't die immediately, and the last thing to die actually are your eyeballs. So I'm not positive I understand what happens, other than when I put my mind to a situation. I call that put my mind to it. And someone says, who's going to greet my aunt at the time of her death? And I describe somebody who hasn't died yet. And I already told you about Michael and his Aunt Nancy, and she was a lovely client of mine. I loved her. And then I didn't hear from her for a while, and he says, oh, she has cancer. Who's going to greet her? And I described someone else in the family who's very much alive. And guess what happened? She died 6 weeks later, but guess who died 5 weeks later? And this uncle did die. It was traumatic. It was unexpected. And then he did greet her. So when you put your mind to it, how's my mind going to a near-death experience and seeing who people are being greeted by? And I was talking to, was it today or yesterday? I told this girl, I said, I know what I'm doing. The thought is why can't I do it? and what is a mechanism in our brain that allows me to leave my body to see these situations. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that a lot of clients will talk to me. I think it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I was talking to a client. And she, oh yes, yes. I'm so close to saying her name. If she's watching, I'm going to talk about your situation. Someone died unexpectedly in the family, and I started describing a whole bunch of people that greeted him. And then I had described this man, medium, larger bone. You know how everybody knows how I do this. I go detail, medium, larger bone, light, medium, light complexion, a lot of hair on the arms, very masculine, square jaw. And she couldn't recognize him initially. I think he was the spirit man who had, you know, if you've seen people with spaces in their teeth, like the teeth are too small for the jaw. Mm-hmm. And some people have their teeth crowded together like me. So this man showed up, and then she goes, oh my gosh, I know who that is. That was somebody who was very important to my brother very early in his life. And so he was going through the death, near death, and going to go on. And I was able to see this. So when I described passing over or someone going through a near-death experience, this man actually passed over, and I was able to describe who greeted him without my knowing who that person was I was describing. Then I have to go to a place of allowing this information to be truthful. And like I said, why can't I do it in the first place? I've been doing this for 32 years, almost every day. Yes, I don't work as much as I used to, thank goodness, right? I don't try. I also don't push people out. I know softly I say this. I like drama, trauma. My specialties is drama, and grief and dying and all that. And I'm not one to push a client out 2 weeks just to calm them down. I don't push them out a month, 2 months, because I don't want to deal with their drama. I like that afterward. Mm-hmm. To me, you're in distress. Now's the time to talk to me. And so when people have a near-death experience, sometimes they don't tell me right away, but they will in confidence. So over these years, I've had a lot of people tell me about the near-death experience. So I want to, Sharp, interrupt anytime you want. I'm just going to keep talking for a few minutes here.
Okay.
Right. Okay. While I can. Right?
For once, I'm speechless. But I can talk for a few minutes if you're having trouble. Drink some water. Drink some water.
So on TV, in the movies, I make reference to what you could have seen on TV as someone passing away. And when you pass away, you can leave your body in a lot of different ways. And I deal with possession with Karen Rossi, and I know she allowed me to say her name. And so the spirit will attach to different parts of the body, and you can leave your body in a near-death experience or in passing the same way. I have seen people, a spirit reach into someone's body and say, you don't have to be there. We're going to pull you right out. I've seen people leave in the upper part of the body. I've seen people back out of the body. So this one gentleman, excuse me, I don't want to freak anybody out. He was driving an open car. He just got it. He was out mountain driving. And so his mother, Pat, in Vacaville, has given me permission to talk about all the family. And I'm going to dig up all those notes, everybody, and put them all together. So this man in the family was driving this. And he was a football player type looking, handsome young man. He just got this car, and he was going to put that cassette in. Oh, wow. And a truck around the corner hit him. He came completely, everybody, his body's here, and he got completely thrown out of his body. Didn't come out of the head, didn't come out of the chest, absolutely the pack of it. And you've seen this, oh, fudge, one of the Marvel movies, Doctor Strange, when he meets that woman, whatever her name is, and she's the guru, she's the leader of all this in the Tibet area. And she just pushes him against his chest, and his spirit rams out the back. That actually happened to this man. Mm-hmm. And I want to speak to that because it was so fast. This man didn't know he passed away. He looked at his car, the car he just got, and he looked at his body in the car going over the cliff. And the truck that hit him also was involved in the wreck. And he looked down, and for some reason, do my eyes show up somewhere in the space? I don't know. He looked at me like, oh, shit, excuse me. Oh. And what was curious, that was death. 99% of the time, if someone says to me, who greeted my relative? And I'm going to give all this description, right? I didn't see anybody there. And it's same with near-death experiences. Sometimes you can have someone right there waiting. You're going to have a choice. You can come with me or you can go back. Sometimes there isn't anybody. And I wonder, I haven't taken the tally over all these years. I will start listening to 12 years of MP3s and start sorting them all out. And at some point, there should be a tally. If you don't see somebody you had near death experience, you have to come back. If you see somebody, you get a choice, or you see somebody and you die, and then we wouldn't know, right? So, in contents with that, I'm only speaking of near death experiences. It appears, I brought this up for a reason. I'm not rambling. I did give this thought that we have choice to come and go. I do believe that. And I believe that sometimes if you have a rough life and you say, I'm X time I'm on my body, you think it, I'm just going to go. What the heck? And if you have a near death experience, the universe will hear you and allow you to have an experience to make a choice. And most of the people have told me that, said, well, when a choice was really given to me, I decided I want to stay. It's because our minds control what will happen, but our spirit will say, you wanted to die, so we gave you a chance, and then you said no. Guess what happened, everybody? Yeah, happened to me too. So I had experience very young in life, and I never talked about it because I didn't think it was. It didn't make any sense to me, and I thought to myself, well, this is just nuts. I'm not even going to bring it up. So I've had this in all these years. I was a very sickly child, and my father and his mother were Christian scientists. Anybody know what Christian science is? Yeah, spiritualists, but they were Christian scientists. And my grandma was actually a minister of. I forgot. I was going to say half alive tonight, everybody. Faith. I don't know for sure what it was, but it was the 1940s and 50s. But anyway, so he passed away, and my mother brought us up to Northern California, North Sacramento at the time, where my grandmother lived. And the first and one thing they did was get my tonsils out. So I would, not shrivel up and die because I was very sickly. And when I went to bed that night, my mother had given me an aspirin. And so I bled out. And in the middle of the night, of course, I'm only 6. What does a 6-year-old know of death, right? My father was very gifted, and he talked to his dead father all the time. Drove my mother mad. And then his mother was alive, and he would talk to her. Different households, everybody. They would have a conversation, and mother couldn't hardly deal with it. It was like beyond her. And so when I was exhibiting strange things, and she'd, don't you do this? Okay. Well, I had this experience in the middle of the night. And like I said, I was a sickly child. And I woke up, and I remember this big woman. And my grandmothers were alive at that time. So I had to be great grandmother. And she had a light colored dress on, and she was soft. You ever hold on to a great grandma, like a great grandma? But in those years, people were soft. And I remember holding her hand, and it was soft, and I seemed to be high. And I said, where are we? She says, I want you to see somebody. And when she did, showed me, it was like I was looking through clouds, something. And I could see down somewhere else. And where we had lived when I finally had the tonsils out was a duplex. And in front of the duplex was a fountain on Marconi across from the school, which is no longer there. There was a fountain in this duplex. Some of you older people might know where it was. And I saw 2 children down there. And she says, you have to be here for them. And the oldest one was dark haired. And then there was the one next to him, next to her. And at the time, I had no idea. My daughter is blonde and my son is dark. But it does describe my daughter's 2 children, dark haired female. And then the boy was lighter and he got darker as he got older. At the time, it didn't mean anything to me. And I was intrigued because they're about my age. And I said, oh, who are they? She says, oh, they're your family. And I go, oh, what did I know? And she says, we want you to go back. And the next thing I know, my mother's man friend ended up being my stepdad. I felt him pick me up. And I remember I was so little, cradled me in his arms, and we were rushing to the car. And then I was in the hospital for some days. And I grew up thinking that was a dream. That was, I remember being carried out. I remember having the tonsils out, being home, then him carrying me out in a rush, like desperate. It didn't make sense to me. And then someone said, well, maybe it was the day you went to hospital to have your tonsils out. Oh no, I remember walking. I remember that, but being carried out in his arms. And he was a lovely man. And so I remember that so clearly. I didn't even grieve my father's death until I was an adult, but I do miss John. And because of that. So I know there's a lot of stories. I've already shared a few of children having near death experiences. And of course, I've also mentioned Dr. Melvin Morris and, oh my God, Stevenson. There's so many people that have talked about near death experiences and everything. But then people will say they want to awaken to the castle. They want to awaken to all the relatives. They want to awaken to their deity. And I started really wondering what that meant. And so I had a gentleman come to me once, and he had lost someone in the family. It was a man. And the man showed up and he had passed over. And he said, I said, where are you? And he says, I'm in my heaven. And this was 2000. And I said, really? And he said, well, this is what I chose to see. And when I looked through he showed me, and it was a landscape as though I rode horses at one time and open areas and the meadow and the trees and the mountains and excuse me, get my hand down, and the mountains in the background. And so this was what he wanted to see, and was same with a woman who lost her husband. The first thing he saw at death was his hunting partner who preceded him to death with a couple of dogs. And I think there was, like, you could watch my eyes, I'll more remember what I saw, maybe 4 or 5 deer. That was his heart's desire. So we will all have our heart's desire. If you're a very religious person, from wanting to see Buddha to the Christ figure to somebody else, because I have Jewish clients. And one day I was talking about what they want to see, because there's so many people say, I passed over, the first person I saw was my Christ, the Savior, the God's only child. Yet I can talk to a Jewish person, they don't get that. I have friends who are Buddhists. They don't get that. They get their teachers, they get other things. And I seem to feel that passing over is the same as a near-death experience, but our choice is not to go on. And of course, if you're terribly damaged, and I call it being damaged when you have body disease or a terrible accident, like the man who was thrown out of his car, in that instant, whatever you are about, your heart's desire. And I've already told the audience, I see my mother, I see my father in the background. He died in 55. That's a really long time ago. And I've said to someone the other day that I forgot what he looked like. Terrible, right? And all of a sudden I started having a sense of him being there for me. But what will I do next? Well, someone I trust to talk to, she says, I see immediately running or being on a horse. Seems like you want to do both. Most of you don't know I rode horses for a while, and I'm a long distance runner. What's my heart desire is get that feeling of power and freedom back. Because as you age, you can't do as much as you used to. Yes, I told my daughter and son, I said, don't miss me for a while, I'll be gone. And that's because I want to travel, go in time. And so you can create your heart's desire. You can create who you want to meet. You can create your activities. If you want to travel in time at the moment of death, you can. What takes us from almost dying, passing over, and then coming back? And most of you have, there's so many people I can talk about, from the woman who was got in the canoe and then got trapped underneath the water. She's a physician. She came back. And to the Indian woman who had cancer throughout her body. She went over, she was cured, she was come back. I was very sickly ill as a child, very, very. You've seen these little tiny children from starving countries with the big knee and they're so thin. Well, that was me. I was a terribly thin. I was so sickly. I was a preemie. All 3 of us were, but for some reason, I had trouble tonsils and ear. You know those kids. It hasn't stopped in my life. You get dished out what you get dished out. And this is my body for the talent I have to be able to help tens of thousands of people. So we choose a life, a pattern, choose a body, a life the passion, the pattern of whatever you're going to go through, whatever you're supposed to help humanity with or not. Or maybe it's just a secret desire to watch your brother or sister grow up, be a witness. I had a lady come to me once. She says, I can't figure out my life. Why am I even here? And the moment I did, I saw this man standing next to her. I says, oh, you're here for somebody. And I gave this description. He says, well, that's my brother. And I went, I'm sorry. I said, did you come here to witness his progress? And oh, she just threw her hands up. So if any of you watching this and I've told you your story, call me back. Anyway, he'd had a lot of health not drug things going on. And he progressed and he got better. Well, she was to witness him recovering and being a better person. So he didn't want to do this without somebody witnessing and knowing. And she says, oh, yeah, I can see that. Even though she had children, she felt like it wasn't enough. But witnessing her brother achieve, be better, overcome, that was her big reward. So how do we know the purpose of our life? Is it incorporated into the near-death experience? Absolutely. And do you not want to live? Do you get sick enough? So I married my high school sweetheart. Oh my gosh, we were so in love. But what do children know at 19 and 20? But in my years, when I got married in 67, that was very common. And my husband was part of a Catholic group, and 5 couples, all 5 of us got married on the same day. I was invited to 2 other weddings to be the bridesmaids, right? Unfortunately, I don't know if any of us made it because we grew up. We're not even adults until we're 25. Right. We don't even become who we're supposed to be. So it's unfortunate. And it wasn't like it was happy, but we felt committed. When I was young and we were married, I didn't know anybody divorced. It was not something that was acceptable. So I tried to kill myself. I got cancer. Not a little bit, a lot. Yeah. And I realized when I got the cancer that I didn't know myself. I didn't know what I was, who I was. I was so involved with life. I didn't know my talents. I could paint. I could run. I could ride horses. We had a garden. We had the life, that fast track couple, they call it. But yet, what was wrong? What did I create? Did I create the cancer? I don't like that because I don't want anybody to write me a 3-year-old child that died of cancer. Don't do that to me. But why do we choose a child life that dies? Why did I choose this life? Well, I know why, because I've been doing this for 32 years. I've helped thousands of people. And it's not like it's fun, everybody. It's gratifying. It's soul satisfying. Oh, yeah, I know someone said, well, good for her. What is yours? Are you supposed to teach piano to children on the street? What is your path? What is your passion? And so sometimes when we can't face life, we create a way to be able to get out of it. And I admit to that. And so I was 39 in 87. 39. And in those years, chemotherapy killed people. So they did what they could for me. And I had all the treatment, had 3 surgeries, and it was more than they thought. And then let's go back in. And it was terrible, terrible. And yet, what that taught me was gratitude. I get to live. Oh my gosh. They didn't tell me for a year and a half. I kept going in every few months. I had that Damascus sword over my head for 15 years. Oh, if you live 15 years, you'll be okay. Can you imagine living that way? And then I thought to myself, what's the purpose and passion in my life? What is going on? Because I almost they said if I had waited 6 months, it would have been through my body. I would never be able to survive it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when we're so unhappy, so unfulfilled, so desperate for life, what do you do? What are you creating? Are alcohol, drugs, or do you get sick with something? Do we sabotage? And then if you have a near-death experience or almost, what does it teach you? Do you fall back into the pattern, or do you say, oops, I'm not doing that again? So I want you to give it some thought, but I want to continue on the near-death experience of what I have felt and seen and done. So with that cancer, it was ironic, and just to share it because it was told to me. November, December, and then January, I had an appendicitis attack. I went to the hospital. They admitted me for a couple of days, but they didn't want to do surgery because they didn't want to cut me. And if you have cancer that spread and they cut you, it spreads more. Because I wasn't done, because in I think it was February 7th, I had to have a third surgery to find out where else it went, right? And while I was in there, and I'm going to do it briefly, just cover it. There were 3 women, and one woman was crying, and she was making phone calls. They had admitted her because she was going to die, and she didn't know it until they did exploratory. And she was crying. I heard her say to grandmother, they've given me 2 weeks and they won't let me leave the hospital. So a psychic friend, Donna Vasquez, she was out of Sacramento. I had met her and fell in love with her. Just darling, darling. And she was kind of my support system at the time to get into this. Somehow she saw more for me. And she says, do you know that you died that night? And I go, oh, then no, absolutely not. I felt fine. She says, during the night, your spirits talked to each other. And she was more gifted, and she inspired you to leave your life and go into the next stage. And I thought, I can't get that. I couldn't accept it. But why would she say that? So even though I didn't have a death that I understood, the death of my past happened. And that does occur. And so in people's illnesses, we may have out-of-body experiences where we meet other out-of-body experiences, whether to say, continue, go forward, be the person you want to be. How many people have had near-death experiences and changed everything? How many have been so ill that they have a transitional, it's a step in. Oh, no, I don't think so. I think we'd step out of our stuff and get into another stuff, something else. And that exactly. So my cancer was 87, December of 87, and then January and February of 88. I left my husband July 1st of 88. Year and a half later, the doc said, you know what? You may just live. We'll keep looking at you every 6 months for 15 years. It almost makes you cry. And the universe heard that. And I cried on my way home from work one day. And I said, thank you for my life and my sanity. And if you wish, I will work for you the rest of my life. That was my birthday. Why would I make something like that up? My birthday, 1990. And the spirit, I said it, and I've always driven Volkswagen. So lime green Volkswagen with the top open, like this on the freeways. I'm praying and saying, thank you. And the following Friday night, the universe directed me to the Spirit of Grace. I had no idea what was going on. And I saw for the first time psychometry. It was the first day for the rest of my life. Big time story. I want you to remember remember what dreams may come. When he first passes over, I'm talking Robin Williams. He first passes over, the first thing he sees is his wife's drawings, paintings. It wasn't necessarily his choice, but it was the young man that greeted him to take him to the inside of his wife's paintings and the beautiful artwork. And if you remember, it was paint. And he was sloshing around, and the dog that they family had loved greeted him, and he was so astonished that the dog greeted him. He had no agenda. He was a doctor. He had no agenda. But yet the person that greeted him ultimately was his son. So you need to watch it. Cuba Jr., I forgot his first name, Sharwitz, that fella's young.
It was Cuba Jr.
Who I did say it one time.
My mouth. It was Cuba Jr.
Oh, yes. Darling guy. He was really good. He had the emotions of, he was a man, but he had the emotions of a boy. And so he took him to his wife's painting, the mother's paintings. But in the movie, they showed Robin Williams to a staircase, huge, like an amphitheater. Down was a river, and across the river was what we call heaven. And all cultures were sitting, all eras was sitting. That's not the first, excuse me. It's like I put my finger. So people who talk to me about their death, their experiences, because I talk about it and then I'll get notes. And oh my gosh, I've had letters sent to me. I have to post some I'll do what I can, but a lot of it's audio, and people share with me, and they say, where's heaven? I can't see it normally. I can point to it. I can always seem to point to it. So no matter where I travel, it can be this way or that way. There is a gathering place, and from the people that I talk to, they say they saw themselves in the celestial city, and it's white and it's marble. Well, I've always told people there is no structure. Who's building it? Who's in the factories there?
Hmm.
They're in the heavens. Where is it? Well, it's made out of the same matter as the universe itself. And so if I said to you, there is a red ball right in the middle of my hand, and it's golden, and God had his hand on it, and blah, 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 and I made it wonderful. Well, you know what? Everybody, after a while looking at it, would start seeing a red ball. So I think that the celestial city is not an imaginary, but a self-created environment. Because when we pass over all the stories that people tell me of near their death experiences, seem to be so varied. There is some common thread. It's like little kids that get a near-death experience. Every one of them is different. Every one of them.
Hmm.
And it's actually amazing. I told the story about the little boy passed over, came back, and it was 2 decades back. Someone shared it with me, and it was a true story of someone in their family. And this little boy got on a train. He was taking a trip, and all these other people he was the only little kid. And so people started getting off. And the little boy thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to get off. So the train stopped, and he got off, and there was this huge, tall man. And the boy says, where am I? And the man says, you shouldn't be here. You need to go back. And the little boy said, why? He says, this is where the doggy and cat heaven is. And so through his eyes, I could see all these animals. That kind of surprised me because I've never seen that. But in what we would call the heaven environment you create. And that was another thing my friend said, that all those years I was running, I had a big black dog, and she didn't know this 100-pound dog would run with me. Plus the 100-pound dog, Caesar, German Shepherd next door, she was a black lab. And she started describing the big animal that would be with me. And it makes so much sense. Absolutely. You kids don't know. And the Auburn Lake trails from Granite up to Auburn, those little trails, horse riding and running 13 miles. That was an afternoon run for me. So for her to say that didn't surprise me. I look forward to it. I know we survive. There's so many people who have near-death experiences, and they see these relatives. They don't know who they are until they get there, and they go, oh my gosh, I remember you from my childhood. One lady was talking about her near passing over and come back, and she was that one, and she didn't recognize this woman. And so I started describing her, and she goes, oh. And I said to her, I says, I smell cookies with her. And she went, when she was growing up, they had a lady next door who was very elderly. And she loved these darling children who lived next door. And she baked cookies and bring them over. So she was a love interest for her, a feel good. So when she passed over and then came back, this confused her. Who was this woman? And I reminded her, because the woman knew that she would come to me and ask questions. So I was able to get the smell of chocolate chip cookies, the idea of baking, that she didn't live in the family, she lived next door. And they had lived in what we call the shotgun houses, long, narrow, with a porch in the front. So she was not part of that family. She was in the shotgun house next door with the porch and the beams that go up to the ceiling. I was able to, and I'm remembering right now the wooden planks on the front, how they were worn. So it wasn't fresh wood, it was older wood. And it was actually kind of, I get real emotional because I feel the joy when they start recognizing, like the lady yesterday talking about who created her brother.
Hmm.
And I thought to myself, she is getting something from talking to me. And I encourage everybody, if you have an ability, you want to do this, please start practicing and get into groups, because that seems to be what works better now. I was part of a church for 15 years. And those of you who might recognize me from Spirit of Grace and all the events up and down California, the big California expos, Evolving Times expos, and the psychic fairs at Madison and the Freeway, and going all the way down to Visalia and everywhere. And so you just got to put yourself out there. And one of the most gratifying is the near-death experience of when people pass over. You can describe their family members or have a sense of it, because I feel it's so satisfying on that. I wanted to talk about a couple of things.
Real quick. On the note of the dogs and cats, okay?
Yeah.
It'd be cool. I'm just throwing this out there because it happened to my father
Okay.
when he had his NDE. Think of this. Your deceased pets can talk to you and you can understand them.
Right.
And it is
Absolutely.
so cool. My father was in the hospital. He'd had triple pneumonia. He had a heart attack. He cried. He went out of body. His dog he had this dog from World War II that he used to patrol with
Oh.
on the beaches. And when he came home, he was able to bring the dog back with him. And it finally passed away. And he got out of body, started to walk across the room, and the dog was at the other side of the room.
Oh.
Waiting for him. So he walked towards the dog. They were in a field. They were walking together. And then the dog turned around and said, "You can't come. It's not time yet."
I love that.
Isn't that cool to think that your deceased dogs, that when you go, God, I'm going to have a busy deceased dog thing because they're everywhere for me.
You guys have had so many animals. You're going
to. My cats, my dogs, my birds. It's going to be unnerving. It's going to be like Dr. Doodle.
You're going to be Dr. Doodle on the other side.
Yeah. So it's really cool to think that when you get over there, your dogs can talk to you and you can talk back.
Well, it's all, I've done readings. Many of you have known that at Armstrong, and I was going to do this and I just got too busy, everybody. I promised to list Armstrong and Getty show. I got one recording. I don't know which one it was. I was on there promoting Dean's Holistic Psychic Fair. Mm-hmm. And they had me talk about the animals, and these animals talk to me. So why wouldn't they talk to you on the other side? Our consciousness, and you say, well, what language would a Siamese cat? And you just heard my cat. I hate to admit to this, I know that cat when it's in a bad mood or wanting attention. I can feel that push, like, now leave me alone. I've had enough of you. Mm-hmm. They do talk to you. And that's what's really exciting is it seems like in the afterlife, and this is confusing to me, you will see the animal, and in their lifetime, unless you have the cat dog in front of a mirror so they can identify. You've seen on Facebook, oh my gosh, the cat and dog see himself for the first time in a mirror. They have no conscience of what they look like until they figure it out. So sometimes how did the deer and that one lady, the husband that passed away, was greeted? How did the deer create a visual of themselves? I don't understand that. How can a bird know what they're going to look like if they don't know what they're going to look like? So I could look at a bird all day long and say, is that what I look like? Because I have no way of looking at me. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to you endless hours. I said this to a gentleman about a week ago. I said, I was having a funny moment. I don't mean to, but if I don't turn it off, I see spirit people all the time. And it's like I told you, my husband drove me by a cemetery to show me around town. I want to know where the theater was. And he passed 2 cemeteries, and I went, oh, please. There was 3 standing there and 2 over there. I'm not wanting them to see me because I'm knocking on my door. And why are they still there? Leave me alone. It's kind of like I got to turn it off. I got to fight it all the time. Right? So in some ways, so anyway, I was telling with this gentleman, I said, you pass over suddenly and you go, wow, I'm dead. You look down and you're fully formed and you're doing your existence. Well, after a while, it takes a lot of energy to create your feet. So you take a shoe, you look down one day and your shoes are gone. So is your feet, because you can't remember exactly what they look like. It's like if I said, now it's summertime because I don't wear socks, but in the wintertime, put a pair of socks on, then at night think, what color did I put on? For you gentlemen, for us women, I like the white or, solid color. But after a while, you forget what shirt you have. You have a memory of seeing yourself in your coffin or cremation or something. You might see yourself last in the bed or however you died. And I always tell people, I don't know if I want to die in a hospital bed And a gown? Hmm. Find your favorite outfit and keep it handy. This is what I want to remember. You know, drown in the ocean with the bathing suit on. Is that how you're going to see yourself the rest of your life? Do you want that? And that's not being facetious. That's what you remember because it was the pivoting point for your existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not humorous, but it was to me when I started thinking about it. And I have seen, oh my gosh, the stories in my head. Um, oh, I don't know if I can mention. So I saw an astronaut in their astronaut outfit. I went, wow, which one am I looking at? You know, and I just also want to say I did see someone of the Catholic faith really high up, not the white outfit, but something like red, you know, really high up. And I described it someone who's in a Catholic situation where they see these kinds of people and they go, oh my gosh, you just described. And I says, well, it's not somebody I would see every day, but I did see that. And in the afterlife, there is no religion. So you can have all these people dressed according to their life structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to myself, well, they all kind of, what's all this, you know? And they do like be around each other. They compare life stories. Well, what did you do in this life? Look at how you're dressed. Do you like that? And it's like share time in first, second, third grade. How was your summer? Oh, I just had so much fun. What? What happened? Well, I was a race car driver and I crashed and it was just very exciting. Oh, well, that's not exciting, but it was to them. Had a grand finale. Woo! I'm sorry, I'm not making light of this, but I want you to be open to the idea that we create our heaven here on earth, the way we live. We create our near-death experiences because the way we have attitudes, our issues in our life. Sometimes they'll come out in our vision. How many people you know have near-death experiences and they had issues with people? And then they float to the other side and they go, I have greater understanding of everything. Now I know why we don't get along. Well, okay. Doesn't mean you have to get along with them now. You could just ignore them if they give you a lot of issues. But we are greater understanding. As soon as you pass over, you go, oh, I now know. I know now. And so we carry some of that into death experiences. Maybe to satisfy us or to wake us up. The red brick of God came down and hit me on the head really hard and said, grow up. What's your life about? Or let you die if that's really what you want to do. But we held you back. We got you into the doctor 6 months before it would be too late, just so you have a choice. And how many of you have had those illnesses? Huh? Or fighting illnesses? Are you going to give into it and let it go? You know, I always tell people, don't do suicide. You know why? Because if it's not your time, you're going to get stuck with what you've done to your body. Oh, Kachar's reading something.
I'm just
Okay,
reading it. Yep.
huh?
Screen, you guys. I'm just reading. Keep talking. I'm reading.
Keep talking.
Keep talking.
I had a list of things I want to talk about. And of course, I start talking, and women of a certain age group, we start talking and get distracted, and we kind of veer off.
I know. Tina, Chris, I know it's you. And when it came up Run Rich, I had to look and go, okay. Yeah, okay. Nancy, here's a weird question. Here's a question that just came in that's kind of interesting. Now, when you cross over, like you say, everybody has their set careers and stuff that they did in life. Now, are you able to communicate with famous people? Like, let's say you cross over and maybe you see Elvis off in the distance. Are you able to talk to Elvis, or is it like a separated thing?
That's curious. And so I was doing big event in the Valley, and the person that was going to talk to Elvis didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me to talk to Elvis. But remember, and this was, he died in 77, I think, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, remember I gotten this in 90. And so the thing about spirit people, they really have their own mind. They are going to do what they want to do, because if someone said to me, by the way, Nancy, we're just going to push in your face and the flesh is going to fall on the ground, but you're going to be sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really changed a lot. If I want to go find Elvis, maybe I think about Elvis hard enough, I would go to where he is. He didn't show up when I wanted him. But guess who showed up? His mother, or the person that took care of him as a child. So I think his mother showed up, and she brought with her his tricycle. And she said, I didn't want to, you'll have to check on the tricycle. think it was blue. And she came with the tricycle, and people in the audience knew who I was talking to. And she said she had not wanted to die. Remember, this is 90. And she had died, what, in the 60s? And why did she show up to talk to me? There might have been someone in the audience that needed to have information. We don't
Right,
know.
right.
And it
I
was
think
recorded. Go ahead, Shar. So
I
you
like
can
to think
ask to see somebody. I don't
well,
know
I
if they
like to think that
want.
like that movie. Oh no, now I'm having a brain fart.
What?
That movie with Timothy Hutton. See, I was so
Braveheart, you
frustrated.
said?
Brain fart, yeah.
I
With
didn't watch
Timothy
it.
Hutton, I would like to think that once we cross, or if we have these things, that we could create, like you say, like you were saying, to create our heaven, what we see as heaven. So maybe just I'm just throwing this out there that maybe if we want to see Elvis, if we want to see Michael Jackson, or we want to see somebody that we admire, we can create that person.
I'm. It's very possible. Or because I haven't died, that I
Right,
remember that situation.
right.
I think I have had many life. Don't get me talking about the flashes I've had. It's crazy.
It's a good topic, Red Rich. Yes, go ahead.
It's like someone said to me, "I want to see my Lord and Master, the Christ person, and everything." I says, "I'm absolutely sure that you will. Absolutely." And how can we, when we have so many people die at once, an event, how many are Christians that want to see the Christ person? I think that that's created for us. Um, the, I'm trying to real fast go through my memory of all the people who've had near-death experience and what they saw. It seems universal that we're surrounded, and I'm thinking of Melvin Morris. And anyway, he talks about, and I talked about this already. I was very interested when I started thinking about reading up on it, and I had a young woman. In fact, it was a young woman died of leukemia, and her mother was holding her hand, and the portal opened up that she could go with what I would call an angel, a celestial being, I'll call her. And
Hmm.
this woman was holding onto this girl's hand. Now, this is what confused me at the time. The young woman who was like 18 years old, she looked at me. So I have access to time, evidently. And
Hmm.
she said to me, "Tell my mother to let go of my hand so I can go. And tell my mother that I can see how golden bright it is with a hint of pink."
Hmm.
And so she described this landscape that was being shown to me, to her. And I said to the mother, she wanted you to let go of her hand so she could leave you. And in that vision, when I said that, the daughter who died 2 years earlier, she let go. And so I'm in the depression that if we forgive or we think back a situation in our life
Hmm.
that's terrible, we forgive, we can change like a domino, the emotions and feelings coming forward. That's a whole new topic. And I'm
Um,
really actively exploring the domino effect of forgiveness of people in our past.
you know what? The question is, can you develop friendships with someone like somebody that's famous like that? I would think so. When once you cross over, like if you, but like I was saying, I think that the possibility is there. I'm not saying you can. I would think it's possible that maybe when you do cross over, if you make that reality for yourself,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
you can become friends with someone famous. I mean, yeah. I
Why
mean, I
not?
wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind having Elvis like hanging with me, man. Just kind of
I think
hanging
that's
out.
really intriguing to think about. Um, my
Yeah.
generation, a lot of stars have passed over.
Hmm.
But if I wanted to meet Janis Joplin, where is she? Maybe she's not even in heaven. Maybe her spirit has come back and is experiencing another life.
Maybe she's Lady Gaga. We don't know.
Absolutely. Look how many prodigies are being shown on in the news and on Facebook. These children are coming back with wonderful musical abilities and piano, and 3 or 4 year olds pounding away on in an orchestra. I mean, they're born with this ability. Let me think about that. On one of them, I said, "Oh, she's come back." Oh, I think I remember. It was one of the jazz singers, and she's now an epitome of this jazz singer. I don't know, but
Right.
I thought to myself, yeah, she won Norway's American Got Talent not American, but Norway Got Talent. And then she came here to the United States and she sings, and she's got this husky voice. And people said she sounds just like, somebody from the past.
Mhm.
So in some ways you wonder, can we redo if we didn't get to finish?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like
So,
Made in Heaven. That's the movie. That's the movie I was thinking
I
of.
made reference that before.
Because
You
to me,
couple
that
fell in
movie,
love.
I mean, when you go and their whole theory behind it over there, when he's talking to God, the one that's smoking like a furnace, is
Yeah.
that you can make your own reality. So I mean, if you want to hang out in a certain, you know, bunch of people or hang out in the rock and roll world or whatever you want to do, you can create that reality for yourself. If you
Absolutely.
want to live in Disneyland, you know, you can do that. So
Actually,
I
I
mean,
found that. Wouldn't it
that's
be
what I
fun just to be in
that's
Disneyland for a few days?
that's what I would like to think it's like. That I can go live on a Hawaiian island somewhere and not be bothered for the rest of my eternity. You know what I mean? Or I can come back. Or I can decide and make that decision to come back. But we're not really going to know till we go.
Well, and from what of the people who talk about reincarnation, so I always tell people if you want to learn more about reincarnation, look up just put reincarnation children's stories. YouTube, I know there's plenty of sites, but one of them is LMN. Go to that channel and you scroll down and you'll see Ghost of My Child,
Right.
or just type in children reincarnation stories.
Right.
And 2, 3, and 4-year-old will talk about past life, and it's absolutely fascinating. As many ways as we can create a near-death experience scenario or pass over, and I tell the story, those children say, I came to you, I had to come down a ladder. One little boy said, I went down a string. And I have never seen that like this. When I see a spirit narrative with a couple, I see them after the fact when they go into the sleep. Like they'll go and surround the parent whom they will have a lifetime connection. It's not always the mother, it could be the father. So you'll hear men say, it's time I want a family. Oh, there's a spirit with that person.
Mhm.
He's feeling like he needs to start a family. And a woman will say the same thing. It's not one or both. It's going to be one, not necessarily both parents that will say, oh, this is time. I need to do this.
It's like you
And
said. It's like you said earlier too with your NDE. When you came out of it, you had a clearer idea of what you were supposed to do. Karen Clark's a perfect example of that.
oh,
Psychic abilities run in her family, but it didn't come out until she had an NDE, and then she started to
that's
have stronger psychic experiences after her NDE. So sometimes these NDEs can lead to other things.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I was always this way. In fact, when my father was killed, we lived in Hollywood, and he came to us. And I remember thinking how odd he looked. And then I told his mother, my grandmother, and she, I guess 3, 4 times I was talking. I was 6. And I'd say, Daddy visited us last night, and he said this. So I was always this way, but I don't think it was acceptable. It showed up in high school again. For some reason, and then during my marriage, um, it was evident that I knew things. And both my kids, especially my son, showed a lot of abilities as a child. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, but I was ignoring it and not wanting it. But the cancer made me aware that there had to be more to life, and the reason for living was to find whatever passion you had for living.
Hmm.
And I didn't know I was going to do this. So, but I chose this body for a reason. So I feel like this is what I was meant to do.
And like Nancy says, the versions of people that have these NDEs vary a lot. You know,
Yes.
like you always look at one person's heaven is different than what your heaven might be. I mean, people that greet you. Going back to that, I mean, I've come in contact. I've had mediums in my house that have said that there's relatives here that go back years and years and years. People, I have no clue who the hell they are. They're just, and so I mean, who knows? Maybe that's who will meet me when I cross. When I finally make that journey. I don't know. So it makes a lot of sense that maybe somebody else. Well, like in the case of my friend whose brother recently passed.
Mm-hmm.
The night that we went to his house to clean it out, which I told the story here, or to help, there was a man with him that she didn't know who it was. And
Was
it
it
turned
someone
out
I
to
had
be an
described?
uncle that they had no, yeah, Nancy had described. an uncle that they had not had any contact with, yet he was with him.
Right.
So you never know who's going to come forth. And these people might be people too that you have their traits, because that stuff gets passed down generation. So it might be an uncle or an aunt that you have their traits, and they feel close to you, and blah 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 blah. And so when you go, that's who's going to help you. Who knows?
One more thought about that. This is curious. It was also like 2001. I had a lady come, and we were doing this, whatever she was asking me, and then she stopped. She says, "I want to tell you a story. What do you think about this?" Heck, I love stories. And so she was talking about her 9-year-old, how he one day when he was 4 years old, he said to her, "I miss Grandma." Well, Grandma's coming over. Oh, not that Grandma, the other Grandma. And when he was in heaven, he met a great grandma. I think it was her grandmother, the mother's grandmother. And they were kept company to each other. And he says, "I miss her so much." And she said to me, she said, she had died almost 10 years before he was born. So she was there to take care of him. And I have seen that before. I've seen that several times, where I will see a child yet to be born being taken care of by an elderly person. And it could be man or woman, but it has to be somebody that the family would. And so I describe these people, and they have to think for a minute. They go, "Oh my, I know exactly who that is." And like I tell people over and over and over, there's no magic. This is what I am. There's going to be someone there. I'm going to describe them. If there's not there, I'm not going to describe them. So when I see people I remember I have an artist's eye, and I give all this detail, and it's just fascinating, because I like not to stump them, but I'd like to get enough detail. They go, "Oh my gosh, he had space between his teeth. His teeth were smaller for his big jaw." And they go, "Oh my God," like, and what I get from that is that the fear of death, or the fear of a near-death experience. And everybody knows that Anne Hesh just died. And I thought of her, and I saw a man greet her. It's like her spirit left her body early. And this big man, she's a little tiny thing. So was it father, grandfather, anybody know her? Kind of straight and down guy, not really broad shoulders, but medium-sized shoulders. And he was there at the car. He says, you're going to come with me." And I wept a little. And I thought, why am I being shown that? But it was to give her peace. So when they pulled her out, I guess I don't know, that she was with her spirit. She knew she was going to get to leave. And this man took care of her. Kind of makes me, I put my mind to the situation, I guess they call it. I had sympathy for somebody. I know that there's circumstances, but no one wants to have that kind of experience. And I put my mind to it, and I could see this man come in from the passenger side and say, "You don't have to be here for this." Whether it would be.
Here's a question to continue on with that. I was curious to know if Nancy. Let me see. I gotta pull this up. God, I can't be blind.
Where are you going, honey?
I was curious to know if Nancy made any spirit friends that like to hang out with her, or she has too strong boundaries set.
The boundaries are really harsh. Spirit friends. Mom and dad are a spirit. Mom is, she's nearby. She's in back of me. She liked to watch me. I have nobody that comes around regularly. It's because I deserve a life. Whatever my experience is, if I'm continually interrupted, and it does happen, but they're strangers. I'll feel someone hop in real fast, and I go, "Whoa, who are you?" And they know that they have given a message to somebody to talk to me about them. So I've had a lot of people show up. Some very confusing to me. I saw a young woman was kind of a heavier Hispanic look, wavy, curly black hair, but wet. And she had a white dress with little ruffles on it. And she was recently deceased. And I go, what am I to do with that? It's really frustrating sometimes. Like, I don't know how to do this. I did work with a group out of Arizona, and the gentleman was a detective, and I tried to find it, and it has closed down. It's called um, Find Me To, something like that. And
Mhm.
was he had cold cases. And so we tried to help. But when you get into a place where you see the spirit people everywhere, you don't want to talk to them. And there was a movie out years back, and it was an English comedian, and he went in for a colonoscopy and he died. And when he came out, they didn't tell him. So he goes to his apartment. On the way in the street, he passes people and he says hi. And the spirit man and woman, they start noticing that he can be seen, that they are being seen by him. And
Mhm.
I'm not sure what Lost Souls is. It was a fun movie. And he lives in a apartment complex with a widow upstairs. And the husband of that widow talks him into giving forgiveness that he played around on his wife. And then, of course, they fall in love. Anybody know what movie I'm talking about? It's an English comedian. He's a dentist, and he's a really awful man in the movie, but he comes around because all the spirit people talk to him all the time. There is a unfortunate thing. I can't always hear him really clearly as much as they show me pictures. I get messages. People have seen that. The other day when that man asked me, I was talking to him, all of a sudden the man that was standing next to him, I said, "Who are you?" And he sat down real quick, and with, how the newspapers use, anybody know what a newspaper is? Big newspaper. He opened it up and went flash like that to straighten it out. And he sat down there and he started reading this newspaper. I went, wow, that's a strange message, right? Well, it was someone in his family, I think it was a grandfather. They were Arabs, and they came here to live, but he got Arab newspaper delivered as often as he could, and he would get that newspaper, sit down real quick, and flash it open and start reading in Arabic his newspaper from back home. And the man stood there and goes, "Oh my gosh, how did you know that?" I said, "The man wants me to know he's here with you." So those are the kind of things I get a lot. But I don't hear this wrong, anybody. I don't know if I want a spirit friend. I want to live my life fully as a human being in the flesh, and I want to live. And I've had some serious illnesses since the cancer, but gosh darn, you'll fight it every minute because this is so exciting to be alive. And no one's life is easy. My husband and I have had some pretty rough times, illnesses and finances from this recessions, but life is still precious and it's exciting. And if I can give that message to anybody who's suffering, one breath at a time, one step at a time, if you surrender, they'll give you an out. If you can't do it, they'll let you have an out. They'll give you a serious illness or something, and then your inner person will make a choice. And I'm not saying whoever's listening to this, oh, she's full of, well, I've lived it, and so is Shar.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I know, especially in this business, and people who talk to me, it's amazing the number of people who've had the aha moment, either had near-death experience from a terrible accident or a serious illness or heart attack.
Mhm.
I just deal with a lot of that, and they wake up, comes back,
Yep.
So, well, I've done pretty good for an hour. Is there any
That's good.
questions?
I was just going to
Yeah,
add
it
in
is.
closing.
Stay with me, huh?
You're confusing my mind. I'm just a little tired today. I was just going to add in closing about spirit friends. My mother is here all the time. My
Oh,
father has
yeah.
has been hanging out all the time. I have an uncle that hangs out with me.
Yep, I
So
see. Yeah.
you know what's funny about it is that it makes me a better person because they're still here watching. It's like they're here going.
Shower time is really hard. I got to a place because I have spirit people around me all the time. You know what? I enjoy being a person.
Yeah.
We're older. We don't look like a model anymore. And I go, now,
I just
I'm,
I
I'm,
just go I
I'm
just go on with my life. That's what I do, and I figure they're either going to like it or they're not. And
right.
I mean, I'm years old now, and they can just deal with it. I'm an adult now.
I, I think your parents are so used to having you in their life and they live there. You guys have lived there forever.
Yes,
That
that's
is
why
their life.
they're here. This
That's
is
their
it.
heaven,
Here,
is to be there with you.
yeah, which is fine. Don't go away. I'm
Right.
good.
Yeah.
With it, but yeah, but just let me live my life. I mean, it's
I
just
don't think they interfere. In fact, the feelings I experience, is that you're alive and they aren't going to step into you, which has happened to me also.
Yeah.
But they want to, I'm going to go here with this. Everybody knows I love coffee. And I do put baking soda in my coffee to get rid of the acid. I have learned that.
Ew.
But, yeah. Just a fourth of a teaspoon in a pot of coffee gets rid of the acid burn feeling. And I enjoy it. And people say, what kind? I said, just regular, decaf and regular together with cream and sugar. When I take that first sip in the morning, oh my God, it's so great. Well, if spirit people are sitting around, they can't smell,
Right.
they can't taste, but they remember. So hold on. Client. So what they do is they go around people like coffee shops, restaurants, and they'll go in a coffee shop and watch people enjoy that first sip because they remember.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever your most precious desire, I'm not a greedy person. I'm not someone that goes out a lot and do things. I'm very easy to please. And a cup of coffee in the morning is very lovely. And to sit outside up there at Hornbrook, I go out and sit on the deck. And I do miss that. It's not going to be in my life anymore, but we have a big backyard here. So my husband is designing pebble, stones. So we go out because that outdoor first cup in the morning when it's nice, that's what they miss.
Mm-hmm.
In the smoke shop, I went to should I say, went to Sunrise Mall, and they have a smoke shop there where they sell cigars and everything. So one time I went out there and I went, oh my God, the men that are the people that are around the front door area, they're not necessarily all inside. They're waiting for these people to come out with that cigar or cigarette and light it outside of the shop. And I was sounds pretty bad, doesn't it? But they love pizza and they remember, it's like wherever the most desirable place is. Could be Las Vegas. Oh, talk about spirit people there. Can you imagine seeing the shows that people are standing around? I've seen spirit people in movies.
Yeah, movies. It's a
Movies
big
a
place.
lot. They want to experience it too. And how great the movie CGI has gotten.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a spirit person, they'll go to the movies just like you will. They want to see it too. And I would be that way. I haven't gone to a lot of movies living up there.
You know
But I
what
told
makes
her,
me laugh is when I'm in a
huh?
movie and I'm with a psychic and they they come to like ghost movies like when I first saw The Others.
Oh, that's a good one.
And she looked at me and the psychic goes, "You know what? There's two of us in this row, but you know what? Every seat's full." I
Right.
said, "What? The dead people are here watching the movie."
And I've seen that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And unfortunately children come.
yeah,
And children spirits want to be around other children's spirits.
yeah.
And dogs and cats. Like a friend of mine's dog died. Remember I said pet sitter?
Uh-huh.
And she said to me one day, where's my dog? And I went, the dog is in heaven. Here on earth, he's with the other dogs running around the yard.
Right.
And she got to a place of accepting that, wherever your heaven is. Cruise ships. Oh, absolutely.
Oh
How about the
yeah. Oh
little old ladies that dance with the 20-year-olds? They die and they go, I'm going to go back and dance with those boys. Cougar time. Oh, I'm sorry.
I
I'm
can
going to
imagine
come
that.
across
I
wrong.
can see that. Anyhow, guys, quick announcement.
Okay.
Next Friday, we're changing it up a bit. I have a guest that's on a book tour, and she
That's
specially
right.
requested to be on Friday. So Nancy's going to be back on Tuesday this coming week. Okay, so we're switching it up. And of course, every other time we do this, we do questions day. So give me a couple days to figure out what I'm going to have you guys ask Nancy. Okay, so it takes me a couple days because I got a lot going on. But we'll get that going and put that together. But that's going to be Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. Okay, Pacific. So she'll be here Tuesday. Now
Yep.
Monday, Michael W. Hall is going to be here. He is an experiencer with a very, very unique story to tell us about his UFO experience. So
What kind of experience? A UFO or
UFO.
what?
So he UFO.
Ooh.
So he's going to be with us Monday. Sunday, of course, we're going to hear about Lizzie Borden. All right. So I'll be reading about Lizzie Borden Sunday. So we got a busy week coming up, and I just want to give you guys a heads up about Nancy being on Tuesday instead of Friday. And then we're finally, after like 3 months, the phone calls from the dead guy is coming. He will be here the 23rd, so that's a heads up. He did all the research into people that receive phone calls from their deceased loved ones.
Hmm.
So he's
That's only
yeah.
happened once with me.
Yeah.
Once it was a client who passed away, and she called and was very odd. And in fact, my mother never called, or other relatives, but this woman got to me. Her name was Judy, and it was quite astounding. I think that's going to be a really great show.
Yeah, that's going to
Um,
be the Tuesday after this Tuesday that he's going to be on. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up to this week because we're changing the schedule up a little bit because
yeah,
Mitzi has requested to come on Friday. So I'll do
and
that.
we're always open to someone writing a note and saying, you know what, I'd like her to talk about.
Yeah,
And no,
yeah,
I
we're
don't
always
know
open to
everything,
that.
but
Always
if I
open to
know a
that.
topic well enough, if you write it in, we will consider doing it. Okay,
Yeah,
so make
yeah.
sure you do that.
So ask us. I mean, even with Nancy's readings, maybe there's celebrities or something you'd like Nancy to contact, so we can do that.
I don't know if I can. That
Okay.
happened. Shar, remember I was telling you once, George Lopez of Port Orange
Right.
Paranormal had me on, and I was in the waiting room. I couldn't hear. So he asked the audience whom they wanted to test me. I love it. I don't,
Right.
because I,
Okay.
I don't make anything.
Oh,
You can
that's
test
cool.
me
No problem. I
for
mean,
just
just
5 minutes.
send topics in, and Nancy and I will look at them and decide what
Yeah.
what we want to do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's so much out there that we can't even think of the
Yes.
majority of it. So whatever you can help us with is great. But I want to thank everybody for coming tonight.
Yeah.
It's Friday night.
Thank you, everybody.
I mean, what more can you want on a Friday night to talk about dead people?
Or life experiences, because dead people
Life
are always part of
experiences.
my life
Oh yeah,
on
me
some
too.
level. But look at all the other things that we talk about related to the paranormal and the supernatural.
Yeah,
That's what's fun.
things that go bump in the night.
Bum of the night.
You know. But anyway, I want to thank everybody, and I will be back on Sunday for the usual read at 6 o'clock. I want to do it at 6 o'clock on Sunday. Okay, so it'll be 6 or I'll
1
do
half
it.
hour
I'll
earlier,
see.
everyone.
Yeah, maybe earlier, yeah, because Sundays are always a good night because I try to at least squeeze in 2 days off, on the weekend. So I'll be back on Sunday, and then again, Michael W. Hall on Monday, and then we have Nancy on Tuesday, and then it goes down. It goes from there. But I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank the regulars for coming. I love you all. Even I may not mention your names, see if I can get you all in now. Tina, Chris, Jerry is here tonight. Let's see. Hang on, let me go up. You're gonna roll for me. Thank you. Jen's here. Let's see. Sarah was here, but she had to go take care of her kid. Janelle, my good friend Janelle, was here. She's on my team. Well, she used to be on my team, and she's very, very, very. She was a debunker for my team. I didn't know the right word. I don't like the word debunker, but she was very, very. I don't know. Very smart. I'm gonna say that. For looking at the logical. That's the word I'm looking for. Very logical.
Yeah, so was I. It was engineering. Can you imagine an engineering mind and
Kate was
numbers
here.
and straight lines end up doing this? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Kate was here. So yeah, we got a nice group of people tonight, and I want to thank everybody for coming, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. You're special. I'll do my Mr. Rogers thing. It's because you're special.
Mr. Rogers.
Maurice is here. Marisa just popped in. So everybody's present and accounted for. So again, I will see you on Sunday. I know you came back. Thanks, Sarah. This is it, right at the very end. Good timing. So I will see you guys on Sunday for Lizzie Borden and then Michael W. Hall on Monday. Okay?
All
and
right.
Nancy, you have anything else you want to say?
I'm surprised I could talk this long, everybody. It was wonderful. It was meant to be then, but I really enjoy doing this and sharing what I know.
Cool.
And before it's all over, the move and everything and the medical, I'll be able to start listening to MP3s, and I will do it on my channel, Nancy Matz Psychic, on YouTube. And if you want to visit me, see me, nancymatz.com, readings or video, Skype. And then Nancy Matz author, and it lists most of my books. I got 8 lined up. Can you believe that?
Wow.
My retirement job, writing, and I won't ever stop doing this. I may ask sometimes to have a day or 2 break now. So anyhow, I've enjoyed everybody. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Char,
good.
close it up.
All right. Let's close this sucker up. If you like the show and you're watching from Facebook, hit that follow button. If you like the show and you're watching from Twitch, hit that follow button. I just love doing that.
Great. Do it.
My announcer voice.
Your announcer voice.
My
I
announcer
can
voice.
listen to mine starting to whine.
If you're watching from YouTube, there's a little ghost down in the bottom right-hand corner that has a magnifying glass and a Sherlock Holmes hat on. That is our groupie, our little ghosty groupie, and that will link you when you click on it. That will link you over to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we've got 350 videos of varying topics, not only paranormal but other stuff as well. So there's a little bit of something in there for everybody. All right, and here we go with this. If you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show and want to get even with somebody, share it with 5 of your enemies. Okay? Visit us at CaliforniaHaunts.org, CaliforniaHauntsRadio.com, and you see that little ticker at the bottom. Well, that's because California Haunts takes no money to investigate. So all this stuff you see, the computers, the paranormal equipment, the Hawaiian shirt, no, I'm kidding. The mics, that all comes out of my pocket if something breaks or needs to be replaced. So if you could find it in your heart to help me out, that would be great. It also helps me pay the bills because I don't work. This is what I do. So it also helps me pay the internet bills and everything else to keep this show going. You can do that at paypal.me at California Haunts, or if you don't like PayPal, Venmo, and then type in California Haunts. But again, I want to thank everybody. It's been a great, it's going on 3 years now, starting in September.
Wow.
Year coming up. And it's been a great ride, and hopefully we can keep it going, okay? All right. Well, I'll see you on Sunday. Bye.